We're going to look at this week's social media trends. And trending this week are the late football player Senzo Meyiwa. You'll recall that the accused appeared in court at the start of the week. Former Health Minister Dr. Zweli Mkhize and US singer Kelly Rowland, who's visiting South Africa. And lots more. We're joined by social media analyst and managing director of Black Box Theory, Yavi Madurai. Yavi, it's nice to talk to you again.
It's so nice to see you.
You know what's interesting to me about some of the trends is, we're just before we actually start talking about them, because they're kind of tied to our preferences, the universe in which we operate. So when we look at these trends, are we saying that these are universal trends? So these are the trends across South Africa, or these trends based on things that, some people enjoy?
So the way it works is that obviously and it's not only driven by hashtags, it's driven by the actual word itself. So let's say, for example, if you put Kelly Rowland in, you're not only going to get Kelly Rowland hashtagged, it's going to just be Kelly Rowland. So when we look at it, it's a matter of understanding, how each one works in terms of how we post about it and how we talk about it and the conversations that we have, but also about the comments. If somebody posts about something and then we comment about it, that all adds impressions, and this is how it builds up to become what is trending.
All right. So then, speaking, because you mentioned Kelly, I wonder if we're starting there. All right. So Kelly Rowland, here's her announcement. Hey, boo. Well, anyway, she was basically saying she's in South Africa. This is the thing when you read things off live, they just disappear. But of course, South Africans love that. So how was the conversation shaped around this?
So she apparently has been in the country for a lot longer than what we thought. However, somebody had posted, does Kelly know, and I'm not gonna quote them directly because I can't remember the exact words, but does Kelly know how much South Africa, enjoys her? And she said, I didn't know that, but I'm here, let me post a pic. Or I'm here, boo, let me post a pic, or something to that effect. And so it started. And then obviously the whole Anele conversation got stripped into that conversation, and it technically blew up in South Africa this week. It literally stopped. It was trending for 2-3 days, bearing in mind that when you've got a topic like KZN floods, and you've got this topic, it would have had to have a huge amount of consideration or discussion in order to be able to go up against KZN floods.
And that's insane, because it tells you so much about, the profile of a country, or at least, well, we shouldn't say the profile of a country, but the profile of people who live on social media, and how something, so devastating and historic that's happening in a province can be trumped by a story that really is about nothing. To be honest, it's wonderful to have visitors, wonderful to have superstars, but let's sort of temper that. All right, I'm not surprised to see Senzo Meyiwa trending.
No, absolutely not. So when you look at it, obviously it was the court case, but it was also the Netflix movie that premiered in this week. So in the last few days, so all of this discussion, all of this conversation, mostly it was about the movie. Bearing in mind that the media would have been tweeting and speaking, and there would have been articles about the court case, obviously. So between social media's main narrative based on the movie that was playing out, and in terms of how the court case is going, basically we're in the middle of a major story, not just the fact that it's real life, but we're in the middle of a story that is playing out. And so there's the movie that has, come up to this point. Now, when you look at the court case, and the court case is now being delayed again, it's people are watching the movie and are now, making up their own minds about various aspects in terms of what the court case is saying. So there's various elements to it that play out in terms of why this particular topic trended so highly this week.
Yeah, and like you say, where there's a vacuum of intelligence, and I mean criminal intelligence, not general intelligence. People make up their theories, and the movies or the series really kind of fueled different conspiracy theories. So that was interesting. Talk to us then about Dr. Zweli Mkhize, the former health minister, and there were some findings this week which pertain to his future, really.
Yeah. So the SIU, obviously, as we know, found for being able to go in and start recovering from the 150 million rand that they have tracked. But the discussion on social media was very much around, okay, so he was found guilty, he was found, all the different findings were found, but what does that mean for other cases? What does that mean for other people? What does that mean in the greater context of corruption in South Africa? Because we know that this is a major topic of conversation when it comes to South Africa. So this is what the big story was about, was very much around, so here we've got this is happening, this is now going to be undertaken. But what does that mean in the bigger scheme of things in terms of other people, other issues, other cases? What will happen now in terms of whether it's investigation, whether it's recovery, is it an SIU, where and how does this play out for South Africa? So in many ways, this conversation is around setting a precedent, or a precedent has now been created in some shape or form. What does that mean going forward? So a lot of that discussion was very much around that.
Well, that's interesting, but I'm always fascinated by behavior and how much juice a topic has in terms of how long it stays. I mean, if you look at my profile, I told one of our other colleagues last week, we were talking about the social media trends. One of my guilty pleasures is the Real Housewives, and now they have the Real Housewives of Lagos. And I was watching the red carpet events. Was that this week or last week? Because I'm losing track of time. Probably last week. But things stay long. Some things stay longer than others. Why is that? And in these particular stories, was the interest a lot sort of at the beginning and petered out, or was it kind of sustained? I imagine with Senzo was pretty sustained, or maybe even with Kelly Rowland.
So, first of all, I want to say to you, from an Iman perspective, Iman always asks the right questions. So the reason why these kind of stories trend is purely because of your very first question, is that how does it work that it becomes a trending topic? And how does it work becomes a trending topic? Is it built on the number of impressions and the way algorithms work? So if this topic at the time had created a bank of impressions, and when we look at a bank of impressions from a Zweli Mkhize perspective, he would have had, millions of impressions in terms of the number of times he was mentioned previously. So when his name comes up again, all it does is that it adds on to that, and all of a sudden that bank account, in inverted commas, of impressions becomes huge and at the top of scale once again. So if you look at any topic in that respect, the moment the topic becomes friendly from a Twitterverse perspective, it starts to trend. So this is now how a Zweli Mkhize case or issue or something that comes up in the week all of a sudden becomes a trending topic, is because it's actually got a bank of impressions behind it.
Yeah, so it's less of a flash flood and more of a dam. So
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Got you. Yavi, always lovely talking to you and lovely to see you again. Thank you so much. Yavi Madurai is a social media analyst and MD of Black Box Theory.